right, this is turn of the century number 2, and in this one we're going to be talking and focusing on public education. All right, so you have to connect some things we've already talked about, and we've looked at child labor laws and kids in the workplace. We talked about Mary Harris Jones, Mother Jones, trying to get the kids out of the workplace. Well, when they're successful, what do you do with the kids? And the solution was send them to school. So in the last half of the 1800s or the 19th century, we get a lot of states are passing laws to make it a requirement for kids to go to school. But here's an interesting thing. Look here. It says kids were in school from 12 to 16 weeks annually. Right now, we are out of school 12 or 16 weeks annually. Could you imagine only having to be in school for, 4 months, 3 to 4 months? You guys might want to be coming back to school. I know I do right now. So, next thing that happened is high schools began to provide ladders for aspiring males and females. What that means is that the high schools, remember, ladders are things that help you go from one level to the next. So what it did is it helped them, if they wanted to go to college and become, a doctor or something, it helped them do those types of things. We're also going to begin to look at the discrepancies and the gap between African Americans and white people in education, and it starts all the way back in the 1800s. Right here you have this is just, I don't know what to call it, an ad or something, but basically what it says is working for a compulsory education law. The necessary complement of the child labor law, so complement is something that goes with it, is a law to compel the children of mill operatives to attend school. So basically, if you're not going to go to work, you got to go to school. All right, that's why kids were starting to go to school, is because the law said you have to. And right now we still have that law that says you have to go to school. Well, why are kids going to school so young? The reason is it was free for them to do so. So kindergarten became very popular. It became very popular to send kids to school at ages 5 and 6. Normally they started school at 7 or 8, and they stayed with the family up until about 5 or 6. But kindergartens become popular, but the more important thing, kindergartens became part of the public school system, which meant it was free for the parents that were paying the taxes. All right? There was a large gap between the amount of people that were white and the amount of people that were African Americans that were attending elementary school. It was almost double. You had 62% whites, 34% African Americans attending school. So if you extrapolate that out, what you have is you have a lot more white people getting an education, which means different types of job opportunities, higher pay. So when we look at data today and we see that gap hasn't changed much, well, we can look back to this time and look at the ancestors of ours and say, well, they set it up for us to have either more success or less success. So when we look at, what type of people have a leg up on other people, well, because of racism, white people have a leg up on African Americans. So if you think back to the 80s union, when we talked about affirmative action, this was why affirmative action was a thing. So you should be able to draw connections between what we're looking at with this data and education and affirmative action. Now, schools, the next thing they became was basically assimilation stations. And what they did is they allowed legally people to assimilate immigrants from Europe and Asia into American culture. So we have public schools, night schools, workplaces. All these places are assimilating immigrants into our culture. All right, higher education is college. So what's happening, and this makes sense, what's happening is more people are attending high school. If more people are attending high school, more people are going to go to college. All right? If more people are going to go to college, colleges need to offer more types of or topics of study. If the industry is changing, they need to expand that as well, and we'll get to that in a little bit. All right. What does that say about society? Well, it says that society is open to new thoughts and ideas. Rather than just saying, nope, we're not going to do it. This is what I did when I was a kid. This is what we're going to do now. All right. So it's kind of going on right now where people are trying new things. They're at home and they're like, I've never done these types of things before, and it's giving them an opportunity to do things that they might not have normally done. All right, so that's what's happening in our world right now, and we're going to see changes. When all this is said and done, we're going to see some changes because some people are going to say, oh, I like this, or no, I don't like that, but at least people are trying new things. All right, so basically looking at education, going into higher education, that's what we're looking at on this slide. Attendance in college is going to quadruple, and again, that's because more people are going to school. If you require kids to go to school, more people are going to go to school. With more people going to school, more people are going to go to college. The curriculum is designed to meet the needs of industry. So, for example, if you were to look at college courses in 1980 and 1990, you would not see very much about networks or internet or web-based stuff. But if you look at those things now, you see things like social media, IT, networking, a lot of web-based things. You will see a lot of that in your colleges when you guys start looking for that. And the reason for that is industry has changed. It is becoming a digital world, and you have to know how to do those types of things because that's what the colleges are offering because industry has changed. The same thing happened at the turn of the century when things were, being used by machines and not so much by hand. So if you could, work on machines or develop new machines, you were going to be better than the next person. Due to the discrimination in the world, we get all black colleges and universities. All right, they're going to open. It's still not going to help. It's going to help, but it's not going to, bridge that gap a ton between the amount of white people and the amount of black people going to school. And then professional schools were created. Those are the schools that you have for doctors, lawyers, nurses, those types of things. All right, so this is what happened. That's just a review of what we just talked about. Compulsory education, if you make kids go to school, they're going to learn how to read, so that's going to be an outcome. If high schools grow and you have more kids going to high school, more kids are going to go to college. And due to racial discrimination, if black people want to go to college as well, they're going to have to found their own, and they would found those, and you would have African Americans going to college as well. In the next video, we're going to talk about these two gentlemen and their viewpoints on how to help African Americans in society.